Hi friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Welcome if you're new. I'm Cheryl. This is Duo Full of Joy. And friends, fall is in full swing here in the Pacific Northwest. We have some rain, we have some cool temperatures today, and I'm excited to try a couple of new fall recipes with you guys. I'm super excited to try something we have never tried before. I've never eaten this before. I never was a big squash fan growing up, but I'm learning to like it the older I'm getting. And I found this thing at Thistledown. This is what they call a Red Kuri Squash. I'm excited to try this. I've never had one of these before. I did a bunch of research on how to cook them. It looks like you pretty much season them the way you would any kind of squash. They don't really have, it's not like they have a strange flavor or anything to them that wouldn't be compatible with anything. So we're just gonna do this. I also have a couple of apples that are looking a little worse for wear. My husband dropped this one, so we need to trim that off. But these are some I got off of clearance at Kroger, and so I need to put those in something. So we're gonna put those with our squash. We're also gonna cook a pork tenderloin. We have some fig jam right here that we made together a week or so ago, and I'm gonna make a fig balsamic and bacon sauce to go on our pork tenderloin. I'm excited about this dinner. My husband is excited. He left to go do a couple of things, so he's gonna be excited to eat this when he comes back. I need to get this squash in my oven. I'm gonna wait to put the apples in until the last probably 15 minutes that it's in the oven, because I don't think they're gonna take that long, but I do wanna get the squash in there, get it seasoned up and get it roasting. It's gonna take about a half hour, 45 minutes for my pork tenderloin. So that's probably gonna go in there about the same time as the squash does. And then we're gonna move on with getting our apples in there with our squash. We're gonna get our sauce made. This is gonna be a delicious dinner. I cannot wait to eat this. So let's get our squash dealt with. I've never cut into one of these, so let's do it together. So here is our squash. As I said, I had never seen one of these before. It does seem like it's a pretty hard squash, kind of like any other squash. Our oven is now hot, and I'm trying to be very careful not to cut myself, because I would do that. But squashes are really, really hard to cut into, but we're gonna get this. Almost got it. All right, let's see what this looks like. Oh my gosh, friends, that is beautiful. So we are going to pull these seeds out. I don't know if I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna just set them aside for right now. And we'll see if I end up keeping all of these squash seeds, but for right now we need to get these out so we can get our squash cut up and get it in the oven. It looks like they are scooping out pretty easy. If you guys have ever seen one of these squashes before, let me know in the comments and how you have cooked it. What is your favorite way to cook a winter squash? I don't have a lot of experience with winter squash. It wasn't something that we ate a lot growing up. Squash was never a big thing in our family, so I don't have a ton of experience with them, but I just in the last several years have started eating spaghetti squash and butternut squash and acorn squash. And so when I was at the farm a while back, I saw this one, as well as a delicata squash, which I've always wanted to cook one of those. So we have one of those we're gonna cook one day too. But I wanted to start with this one because this is the one I am more intrigued about. I've eaten delicata squash, I've never really cooked it. The acorn squash, I have cooked and eaten both of those. So I'm not super, I mean, I am excited to make those, but not as excited as I am to try this one. Because like I said, this is something completely new to me. And I'm excited to get this thing cut up and roasted. Fall is definitely squash season around here. I don't know about where you guys are at, but here it is definitely squash season. All right, so there is all of our seeds. We're gonna just set this plate aside and we will deal with those later. But for right now, we need to get our squash cut up and get it on our pan. I have my roasting pan over here ready to go. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into rounds like this. And then we will be able to cut them into cubes at some point. I don't know if I want to do it now. Maybe I will. Like I said, this is an experiment, guys. I have never cooked with a curry squash before. But we are definitely going to experiment with this together. I don't know. Yeah, I think I am going to roast it with the skins on, and then I'll take the skins off. I'm going to cut off this top, though, because we definitely don't need that. My husband loves squash, and I have never really cooked with squash, so he's excited that I'm finally starting to experiment with it, and he's getting to eat squash again. I don't think that it's going to take as long having this squash cut up like this, because you're just roasting these half rounds. But I'm excited to try this. I think it's going to be a great combination with the apples on it. All right, so here is our sheet pan. We're going to put all these on here. Don't want that on the bottom of my pan to burn. All right, let's put a little oil. So we've got some olive oil. I'm gonna do a little bit of our Redmond's real salt. And I think as far as other seasonings go, let's see what we have up here in the cupboard. Let's do a little bit of garlic. We'll do a little garlic powder on it. We're just making this up as we go along, friends, because like I said, I've never cooked one of these before. So I'm just trying to be cautious of what flavors I put on it, because I don't know, what flavors are really going to go really well with it. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of this. Let's put a little bit of our black cherry and chipotle on here. I think that's going to give it some good flavor. I think that's going to complement our pork. And it's also going to complement our fig sauce, I think, that we're going to put on this. So, all right, I think we're good there. Let's go ahead and get this in the oven, and let's get this roasting. Like I said, it's probably going to take about a good 30 minutes to roast this up. And then we're going to get our pork in there with this. We're going to cut up our apples, and this is going to be a delicious, delicious dinner. All right, friends, our curry squash is smelling incredible, but I want to get this off of the skin so that we can get our apples diced up. We can get our pork loin on the sheet pan, and all of this can cook together the rest of probably about a good half hour or so, and then dinner will be ready. This down here, and we're just going to peel this right off the skin because it looks like it's coming off without a problem, which is incredible, because I want this all in some nice chunks. I think I'm going to use, I think we can just do this right here. I'm just going to pull that skin off, throw that skin away. All right, let's go ahead and get our pork loin. This is one of the Applewood smoked bacon pork tenderloins. I've had this one before. It's absolutely fantastic. So we're just going to pop this in our oven. Go got all of our bacon right here on top. I don't want to lose any of that. So I'm just going to very carefully get my pork out, get this right on our sheet pan. And this is going to go straight in my oven. My oven is still preheated and ready to go. We're going to throw this in there while we get the rest of the skin off our squash. Friends, so our pork is in the oven. It's got about another 20 minutes or so. I've got my squash sitting right here. I'm going to add my apples to it in a few minutes. But I've got a little bit of bacon we had left over from breakfast a couple nights or a couple mornings ago. And we're going to make our balsamic sauce that we're going to put over our pork when it comes out of the oven. I told you we're going to use our delicious fig jam that we made last week. We're going to put a little, yes, the pork has bacon on it already, but you know what? I wanted to use this. I want this out of my fridge. So we're just going to add the bacon to it. More bacon, no big deal there. We love bacon in this house. So I'm going to cook this bacon a little bit just to kind of get it warm, let it to release a little bit of that fat and let it start getting a little bit crispy. And then we're going to put in our fig jam. And I'm excited about this. This fig jam is absolutely delicious. It is so good. This is what we made our fig bars with a while back, and they were delicious. We're going to put a little bit of balsamic vinegar in this, and I haven't decided yet, but I think I might put just a tiny bit of Dijon mustard in here. Dijon mustard and pork are such a classic combination, but I think that tart from the vinegar and the sweet from the fig jam and that kind of a spice or bite you're going to get from the Dijon, I think that's going to be a fantastic combination for the sauce to go over our pork. I think it's going to pair really well with our squash and our apples. The other thing that I found, I was looking just to see what I have here on hand, and I have these sliced almonds with cranberries. I think those are going to be delicious with that squash and apples. So we're going to finish our squash with that, and I think it's going to be fantastic. So let's finish getting our bacon cooked. We're going to add the fig jam in here in just a second. I'm going to grab my silicone whisk because I do not want to scratch my pans any more than I already have. Like I said, my bacon was already cooked, but I just wanted to get a little tiny bit of flavor on here and kind of cook that bacon down just a tiny bit. Let's go ahead and put in our fig jam. I'm going to do about half of this jar that we cooked. I'm going to go ahead and turn that down. I'm not going to add any extra sugar to this because I think my jam was sweet enough. And I'm not going for a super sweet sauce. I'm looking for a sauce that is going to be really well balanced, lots and lots of flavor. And I think the little bit of sugar that's already in this is going to be fine. We're going to put in a little bit of our balsamic in here. And I don't think we need a ton. But we definitely want some. I need to grab my Dijon mustard. All right, I can't find my Dijon, but I've got stone ground. So I think that's going to be just as good. We're going to put just I'm going to say about maybe a teaspoon and a half of that stone ground mustard in here. I think all of these flavors are going to be absolutely fantastic on this pork. You can see, oh my gosh, the smell coming out of this pan right now is insane. I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more of my fig jam. It smells so good, friends. I'm going to give it just a tiny taste, see where we're at. See how that balsamic and that mustard is in there. You can see those little bit of grain from the mustard. Oh my gosh, friends. That is incredible. Wow. All right, I'm going to put just a tiny bit more mustard because I added that extra jam in there. Let's put, I'm going to say about a half a teaspoon more of our stone ground mustard and just a splash more of our balsamic. And that's probably good right there. I think that is going to be absolutely incredible. I'm going to just let this sit here on the stove and stay kind of warm and let all of those flavors continue to blend together while our pork finishes. And we're gonna get our apples chopped and put on our pan with our squash so we can throw this in the oven. So we're getting ready to add the rest of our apples to our squash. And then we're just gonna put I think just a little bit of honey on these and maybe just a tad bit of salt, and we're gonna call it good. Don't wanna add much more flavor than I've already got on my squash. That's just gonna help kind of combine all these flavors together. I wanna spread my apples out just a tiny bit. From a local farm around here. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of this. And I'm gonna just drizzle this over our apples and over our squash. I always think squash can really handle a little bit of honey, a little bit of brown sugar, but I'm trying to go all natural tonight, and I'm just gonna keep it nice and simple with some local honey on these apples and this squash. Just keep it nice and simple, nice and fresh. I think this is gonna be incredible. I'm super excited to give this a try. Let's get that honey off. I don't want to waste any of this beautiful honey. And this is going to go in the oven right next to our pork tenderloin that's in there. You can see our pork tenderloin is looking delicious. I'm going to go ahead and put these in right next to it. And I think I want to add a little bit of liquid to this fig sauce. I'm going to put a little bit of apple cider in here. Not a lot, but I do want to thin it out just a touch. So that's maybe a quarter of a cup of apple cider in here. And we're just gonna stir this around, let this come up to temperature. And by the time this comes up to temperature, our apples will be roasted, our squash will be reheated through, our pork should be done, and this, friends, is gonna be a delicious dinner. Here's our squash and our apples. We're gonna put our cranberries and almonds on here just for a little bit of finish. And friends, dinner's ready. All right, so we've got our beautiful pork right here. Let's get that foil out of the way. This pork looks amazing. And friends, this is that incredible cutting board I was telling you guys about a while back where we did the charcuterie board on the other side. You can see how this cutting board has kept all of that juice nice and tight on top of the cutting board. Didn't go all over my counter, didn't go all over my floor, and that's just the best. So we're gonna do a couple slices of our pork. I'm gonna get some of this bacon, because that bacon is absolutely delicious. This pork, they gave us a lot of that bacon. All right, there's our delicious pork, our squash and apples, and our fig sauce. All right, friends, we have our delicious dinner. We're gonna sit down and try this, a new kind of squash. I've never cooked this kind of squash before. Hubby's never tried this kind of squash before. This was our red curry squash and our homemade fig sauce that we made with our fig jam that we made a week or so ago. So we're gonna give it a try. I'm excited to try this squash.
It has a nice fall color to it.
That is really good.
I dipped it in the fig sauce.
I like that the squash has a little bit of that caramelized on the bottom. Let's try it with a little bit of our apple.
Oh, I didn't know apple was in there.
That is really tasty. Let's try our pork.
That'd be good with some walnuts in it too.
It has almonds.
Almonds? Okay.
So let's do a little bit of our fig sauce on our pork. Yeah, let's throw a little fig sauce on our pork and see how we like it.
That's good.
That fig sauce is so good. Oh, super tasty.
Almost coats it like a barbecue sauce.
It does. There is no barbecue sauce in it though, but it could be used as a barbecue sauce. But that is super tasty.
I think it's the sugar.
There's no sugar, it's honey.
Well, honey.
I use honey in it, but that is super tasty, friends. Thank you guys so much for joining me in my kitchen as we made a fun, delicious 2 new recipes we haven't made before. That red curry squash, as well as the fig sauce that we made for our pork. Super delicious. I love getting to hang out with you guys in the kitchen. If you guys have not yet, please hit that subscribe button up there. We would love to have you a part of our YouTube family. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we upload a new video. Friends, I love it that we get to hang out in the kitchen together. You guys come and see what we cook and what we're doing, what we're hanging out. And friends, we'll talk to you guys in the comments. Have a great day. God bless.
God bless.